Hi everyone. I know your new writing unit has to do with fairy tales and fractured fairy tales, and I wanted to read to you a story, Little Red Riding Hood. And I didn't have the book at home, so I'm using my Kindle. So if any of your parents have an app, or you guys do, for Amazon, and you have Amazon Prime or allowed to read on Amazon, they have some great stories about fairy tales, and they even have some fractured versions that you can actually do like a choose your own adventure, which I thought was really kind of cool too. But anyway, this one is Little Red Riding Hood Stories Around the World. And I wanted to read to you, they have What is a Fairy Tale? Once upon a time, before the age of books, people gathered to tell stories. They told tales of fairies and magic, princes and witches. Ideas of love, jealousy, kindness, and luck filled the stories. Some provided lessons. Others just entertained. Most did both. These fairy tales passed from neighbor to neighbor, village to village, land to land. As the stories spun across seas and over mountains, details changed to fit each culture. A poisoned slipper became a poisoned ring. A king became a sultan. A wolf became a tiger. Over time, fairy tales were collected and written down. Around the world today, people of all ages love to read or hear these timeless stories. For many years to come, fairy tales will continue to live happily ever after in our imaginations. So the one I'm going to read to you is Little Red Riding Hood, and it's a German fairy tale. And the classic fairy tale was written by the Grimm brothers, which is also German. So enjoy this version and see if you notice any differences from the ones that we know today that we tell each other, or the one that Mrs. Sangaris or Ms. Mulchin read to you, and you can see how this one changes a little bit. Here we go. Once upon a time, there lived a sweet girl named Little Red Riding Hood. She got her name from the red velvet riding hood she wore. It was a gift from her adoring grandmother. One day, the girl's mother gave her a loaf of bread and a bottle of wine. She said, "Take these to your grandmother. She is ill and weak, and don't stray from the path." And here's the picture. Little Red Riding Hood set off through the woods. Along the way, she met a wolf. She didn't know he was a wicked beast, so she wasn't afraid. "What are you carrying in that basket?" the wolf asked. "Bread and wine for my grandmother," the girl answered. "Where does she live?" asked the wolf. "In a cottage under 3 big oak trees," said the girl. The wolf grinned. "She is a tender young thing," he thought. "She will taste better than the old grandmother. I must be crafty." And there's the picture. The wolf walked alongside Little Red Riding Hood for a while. Then he said, "Let's race to your grandmother's house and see who gets there first. I'll go this way and you cut through the trees." "What a grand idea!" the girl exclaimed. She left the path and ran into the woods. The wolf reached grandmother's house first and knocked on the door. "It's Little Red Riding Hood," he said in a sweet voice. "Come in, dear," said grandmother. The wolf opened the door and swallowed the poor old woman. He put on her spare cap, nightgown, and glasses, and got into bed to wait. Little Red Riding Hood soon arrived. She called, "Hello," and pulled back the bed covers. The girl thought her grandmother looked very strange. "Grandmother, what big ears you have," she said. "The better to hear you with," said the wolf. "What big eyes you have," she exclaimed. "The better to see you with." "What big hands you have." "The better to hug you with." So there's the little girl with the wolf. "Grandmother, what big teeth you have," Little Red Riding Hood cried. "The better to eat you with," the wolf snarled. He jumped out of bed and swallowed the poor girl. Now the wolf felt full. He lay down on the bed and began to snore very loudly. A hunter passed by and heard the wolf's snores. He saw the wolf on the bed. He knew the wolf must have eaten the grandmother, so he grabbed a pair of shears and cut open the wolf's belly. Out jumped Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother. Little Red Riding Hood ran outside and fetched some large stones. She and the hunter filled the wolf's belly with them. When the wolf awoke, he tried to run off, but the stones were so heavy he fell down dead. Grandmother ate the bread and drank the wine Little Red Riding Hood had brought and felt better. Little Red Riding Hood told herself she'd never again stray from the path in the woods.